Hola, welcome to Chats con Sabor. This is Joanna, and I'm here with my two lovely hosts.
Linda and Yvette.
Today's topic is going to be music.
Yes. Lots about music. Had a conversation between the three of us and we asking each other what our favorite songs were. We know that Linda is from a different age bracket, right? So the music is very different like when you were growing up compared to like Joanna and I. We're only 2 years apart, or a year and some months apart. So we asked each other what our favorite song was and to share what that song represents for you, or maybe brings back like a certain memory or where we were in that time of our lives. So Joanna, why don't you kick it off with your favorite song and memory?
So, my favorite song is Come Into Your Arms by Judy Torres. I am I was very huge into freestyle when I was younger. I'm from up north, so Jersey, Philly, New York type style, Latin background, Italian background. So that music had such a huge impact in my generation, in my area, which Yvette can attest to. But that was like, I was telling them when we were having our conversation, that was like love music. It's like wanting to be in love and having relationships and
Dance,
dance. So it was a very fun genre for me when I was, in my 1920s, around that time. Might have been younger because I think in my quinceañero,
Yeah.
I played some Diamond Girl.
Yeah.
So it goes back. How about you?
Mine was also in that same genre because, of course, that's how we grew up, right? With freestyle. I did like a lot of what we consider now is alternative music. Back then, we used to call it rock, right? Or alternative rock. Maybe that's what we used to call it. Alt rock.
I called it hair bands. I used to love my
hair bands. That too. Yeah. But my all-time favorite song that I shared with you guys, it is a freestyle song, and anybody who knows me from back then will tell you, "Funky Little Beat" by Connie. So, and I know Debbie Deb did a remake, but yeah, I did like Debbie Deb, but Got Weekend, and all those songs. And for me, that particular song, when I was in high school, I did not date any high school boys, which, I don't think it's
not a surprise.
It doesn't come as a surprise. No. I did not date any high school boys. My boyfriend was 4 years older than me. And I just remember him picking me up in his IROC Trans Am. Picking me up from school, and just, he'd always play that song for me because he knew I loved it. So,
you know what's funny? That my high school boyfriend had a Trans Am too.
I think it was the car back then. So mine, he actually had the I think it was called a T-top, right?
Yep.
Where the thingies came off or whatever. Yeah, and he would pick me up.
What color was it? Mine was turquoise.
His was black and gold.
It was a traditional.
It was a traditional Trans Am. Yeah. Oh man, that car was so sexy. Every time he drove up, I was like, so that's what that reminds me of. But of course, also reminds me of like, I think we were talking about this the other day too, is like the 20 Below clubs and stuff. Like that kind of music was just, I mean, man, I always tell my kids are 30, 25, and my youngest is almost 19. And I always tell them, man, you guys, you missed out. Because I feel like when we were kids or when we were teenagers, I feel like we just had like the best music, like the best. And I feel like now it's kind of making a comeback a little bit. Like I at least on Instagram, like social media or whatever, I see a lot of posts and stuff with playing like reels and saying that kind of music and watching just people dance and stuff. So lots and lots of memories. So what about you, Linda?
Gosh. You guys make it sound so fun and cool. Because
it was.
We had lots of fun.
Well, my favorite song's more sentimental, I guess. And not because it's a ballad or anything like that, but more because It's something that I was able to relate to in that stage in my life, and that it's "Where Is the Love" by Black Eyed Peas.
Okay.
And it was just almost like what I needed to hear, because I feel like I got surrounded and I was raised with a lot of selfishness and just people minding their own business, and and even nowadays, oh, you do you, boo, it's we're losing that. Our family, like, it takes a village, like that type of stuff. I think for my generation, we started losing that. Even though because I lived in Venezuela, I know what it was like. The moment I moved to the States, it was non-existent. Playing with neighbors, what is that? That for my times, it didn't happen, right? So when I heard that song, I could relate so much, especially because then I started going to church. And so that song has a little bit of, if you really practice what you preach, or you turn the other cheek, right? So it was very like, okay, fine. Finally, something that I can relate to, other than all this booty shaking music. And I don't know. I feel like in that time, I needed to hear that. That I wasn't crazy, that what I thought was important actually mattered.
That's awesome. Awesome.
I like that.
What did you guys grow up with listening to? I know, like for me, and I'm kind of bringing up like older stuff, right? But like growing up, I grew up with my grandparents. I was very close to my grandparents because my mom was a single mom. So they helped her a lot with me. And Saturday mornings, my grandmother cleaning and stuff. That's how we knew it was time to wake up, because that music would go on. And, if we spent the night at grandma's house, then music was on. She was cooking, cleaning, doing all the things. So what songs or what, I guess, genre of music reminds you of those time, like special memories of your parents, your grandparents, or whatever? Linda?
I feel like salsa.
Salsa. Ooh,
yeah, like even though there was always a variety, there's something about salsa that I just, and Oscar de Leon, and I don't know, it got you moving. And like you said, that I grew up the same way too. I wanted to sleep in, but the moment I heard that music cranking, it was either I chose to wake up and I had a good morning, I knew I was gonna clean, or she was gonna walk in yelling at me like, are you serious? You've been sleeping all day. And it was like 9 a.m, So so you heard that music and you were going to get up and you're like, okay, Mom, how can I help you? And then she'll be like, ahí están las arepas. Like, I cooked, grab something really quick to eat and come on down and help me,
Arepas.
Arepas. Linda makes some really good arepas.
The best. What about you, Joe?
Like Linda, it was merengue, salsa, bachata. It was Mexican music. My mom loves Mexican music. Nice. And I'm Puerto Rican, so I got a taste of every single like Spanish speaking music there was, from ballads to all that. So as soon as I heard the music too, it was like a trigger. I was like, mami está limpiando. It's time to get up, and it's time to clean my room. It's time to, organize stuff, whatever it was. But the spirit of that music just made you happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even
though you knew you were going to be cleaning.
I knew I was going to be cleaning, and some of the lyrics was a little, but when you heard Eddie and you heard, Jerry Rivera, and you heard, La India, Mark Anthony, it was just like all that stuff just filled your soul, and you didn't care what you were doing at that time.
You'll start dancing with the broom.
Yeah. Like my friend says, now you're going to go home and you go tiki 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 the next day.
Tiki tiki.
Like, yep.
That reminds me of every time I hear like a corrido norteño, whatever, they always end with tan tan. Tan tan. Yeah. So for me, like with my grandmother and stuff, playing the music and everything, was a lot of like Vicente Fernandez, that old school.
Yes.
Like, I guess it was rancheras, norteños. Like, there were some good songs. There's a lot of them. I can't think of like the groups. Like you said a couple of when we were having a conversation one time. Los Bookies.
Yeah,
Grupo Más.
Yeah. Oh my God. My mom was into all. Marisela, Sin Él. I used to hear that all the time. I was like, ay, Dios mío, here we go. She must be going through something.
Mom's going through it. That's funny. So my mom, the one song that really reminds me of my mom, didn't listen to a lot of Mexican music that I had with my grandparents. My mom listened to a lot of like that, like the 70s and early 80s, I guess. I was born in 74, so all that type of music. And the Bee Gees were always like,
Oh,
those
yeah.
songs just remind me of my mom. Like, oh gosh, yeah. Every time I listen to them, I'm like, oh, and I can't remember who sings what's that song? Oh my god. Uh, oh my God, Ebony and Ivory.
Oh,
I don't know who sings.
Ebony
Yeah, and Ivory.
What?
In perfect harmony.
What is happening?
LOL.
Oh, my God. Oh man, yeah. All these memories are starting to flood back. All right, let's move on. So we talked about our favorite songs. What about music in like the different eras? So I think the other day we were having a similar conversation, and you were asking us like, well, what makes freestyle freestyle? Like your mind, it was very similar to like techno and house music and stuff, actually derived from freestyle.
I feel like it was in between that and disco, like something in between.
Yeah. So tell us about like your growing up and just even now, the different eras in music. Like, how do you see the different changes and stuff?
Okay. Where do I even start? Because I feel like I was very submerged on everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because my dad, and probably because his siblings lived in the States, he listened to a lot of English music. So, the Beatles, like you said, like rock, and not necessarily headbands, but just English music. And I don't know. It's funny because it happens to me a lot of times where like Purple Rain, right? Like I didn't grow up with that. That's not my generation. Let's be honest. Now he's freaking an icon. Of course, I'm supposed to know about freaking Prince, right?
Yeah.
However, I listen to him because of my dad, right? Or things like that. So the English part, and sometimes we can be together, or we can be at a bar. The sun will come on, and I'm not really supposed to know about this music. And quite frankly, I catch myself. I'm like, where do I even know this? Because it's not something that is on my playlist. It's not on my phone. It's not something that it's on my. Oh, I like the oldies.
Mm-hmm.
No, but somehow I find myself. I'm like, okay, I know the lyrics, or like bits and pieces, of course, and that comes to mind. That the fact that I listened to my dad listen to that type of music growing up.
Makes sense.
And then with my mom, I got all the Spanish salsa merengue. You can think of. My mom loves to dance, so anything that moves your hips, we were listening to it.
Mm-hmm.
And but something that was very interesting to me, because I obviously, when you live where you live, you don't know the outside world. When I moved to the States and now live in Miami, yes, plenty of Hispanic music and salsa merengue. And all of a sudden, to me, what was very surprising on 2005 is, bachata. I remember Aventura was like a very big thing,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what? Because where I'm from in Venezuela, Aventura tried to make it over there, and they were like, "Ew, you're too tacky." It was kind of like and they didn't make it at least in the city that I'm from, that I was raised. It was, as a matter of fact, if you like that type of music, if you like bachata, it was almost considered like cleaning lady music, and not cleaning. Yeah, I'm serious. It was not hood, but it was just low class.
Got it.
I guess I don't know at that time. And then I come to Miami, and it's like, oh my gosh, Aventura, and I'll confess, in Venezuela, I liked it. I was judged for liking them. So when they get to Miami, and all of a sudden it is a thing, and I know every single lyric of the song, all this stuff. They're like, how did you know this? Like, this song just came out. I'm like, no, it did not just come out.
Yeah.
Like, this came out 5-7 years ago. Now, I will say that I feel being blessed by being submerged in so many genres, and not just that, but I have an uncle that he's like into classical music, and he says like, or my generation room music with the reggaeton and techno. So I have all kinds of like background on me, and I think he exaggerates a little bit, but I do, up to a certain extent, I do agree. I think back in the day, people had to sing to be famous. Like, you actually had to have a voice. You had to have talent. Nowadays, there's so much technology that you just have to look pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, we have lost a sense of value in music, because back in the day it was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're singing like that. It was all about being impressed and actually appreciating the time or the effort. Like it, you wanted it to sound like music,
Yeah.
not just pam 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 pam. It was not just the it's not even about feel good, because even back then they made feel good music that you want to move your hips, but they had lyrics. There was a story behind it.
Yeah.
There was a purpose. No, yeah, it was a purpose behind it. They
The
wanted to
words.
reach the audience.
Yeah.
Right.
They
The
wanted to
words were
touch their heart.
special.
Yeah, they wanted to touch their hearts. They wanted to throw themselves in the crowd and be, taken by the waves of people, because you wanted to connect with your people. Now I feel like people want to connect with the people just because they want to make money, not because they actually love the music, or there's purpose behind it. Obviously, there's the exceptions. There are people, there are famous people that actually know how to sing, but the common denominator right now is not necessarily pure raw talent.
Well, the motive is making money now. Yeah.
It's not the talent.
Right. What do you? Because you and I grew up in the same era, listening to the same genres and stuff. Tell me what you feel about like the difference between like old school rap and now new school rap, and even the difference between like hip hop and R&B and stuff. Like how do you feel it's changed? And
Well, I think, in my opinion, like I was a Biggie Smalls, a Tribal Called Quest. I was a Tupac. I was a fan of everything. Run DMC. I think the lyrics that they actually had were things that they actually went through. It's not like a false narrative. This is how Biggie grew up. This is how Tupac grew up. So to me, they were hood. Like they grew up in the hood. They knew what the hood was about. And I feel like nowadays with hip hop, it's like it's about the money you're making, the what you're wearing. I think there's so much fakeness behind all that. Like the Eminems of the world, the 50 Cents of the world, and all that stuff. They lived it. They've been there, done that. And I feel like this generation, they don't even know what that shit is. Just because they pop off a couple lyrics here and there, they feel like they can rap. I mean, I think with rap itself, it's in the skills of the lyrics.
Yeah.
And I think we've lost that. I mean, not too long ago, I remember there was like a freaking rap song about broccoli or something. I'm like,
I don't remember that song.
And the freaking Asian guy, the dance song, I don't even remember what it was. But anywho, it's just how things have really changed now in this generation. People are accepting anything and everything. They're talking about vaginas. I'd rather listen to Foxy Brown and, the Queen Bee and them telling me like, this is what we're doing. This is what I did. This is where I got here. This is what I do to pleasure a man. This is like, that's real shit to me compared to what's out there now. And I'm not going to name any names, but
Cardi B. I said it.
Nothing against our fellow Hispanic. I'm just saying, like, the reality of what was then and what is now is definitely totally different.
I think we've lost the art of storytelling.
Yeah.
I literally think that that's what's happened with, I mean, because hip hop back in our day, like, and you could literally listen word for word and you knew exactly what that artist or group or whatever, what they were trying to convey to their audience. And it was a story about either how they grew up in the hood or love or, their version of seducing somebody. I mean, because some of these words, we were just going around like singing the lyrics and you listen to them now and you're like, damn, that was spicy, like
spicy was LL Cool J, just saying.
Oh, good Lord, that man. He even wrote a song for me. I love that man. Let us looking at me like, what are you talking about? Look it up.
I have so much homework.
He's an actor now, but let me tell you,
LL Cool J, Dear Yvette. Literally the name of the song. That was so funny. Anyway. Moving on.
Filling in the clouds over there.
She was
Dear,
singing.
I know. Dear Yvette.
The song. It's not a very nice song, but
I feel like I need to fan you right now.
yeah, I feel like I need to fan myself. But what do you think? What do you like coming from a younger point of view? What do you think of the difference between old school rap and now this new stuff?
Yeah, I think I'm from like a different planet, and I just can't relate.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong, I listen to a lot of it, like especially like in Spanish reggaeton, right? Let's be honest, there's not a lot of content. There's not a lot of, you know, good lyrics. It's just about booty shaking, right? And I sure love it.
And what they're licking.
And what they're licking.
We had that
Oh my god.
Did. And I've never heard that song, by the way. Thank God.
Oh my goodness. I guess I do like to move my booty. But I just, you know
Don't
what?
we all though?
The truth is, I was a big fan of Britney. All right. And then she went through her situation. And as a young girl, I was very disappointed. So at that point in life, I was like, you know, this is all superficial. Like, I'm here crying for her, literally crying for her.
Yeah.
And she doesn't even know that I exist.
Right.
Okay, so at that point, I stopped caring for, you know, famous people. That's why I really don't keep up with what's going on nowadays. If it doesn't show on my feed, or if somebody like a friend of mine doesn't post it or something, I'm completely out of it. Like because I really don't care about what famous people do. And with that comes, I feel like that genre of music has lost my respect. So I don't follow it anymore. I don't, and I will agree. I feel like what it used to be was very different. And even the older stuff, and actually, I just remember we were having this conversation, probably the same conversation that we keep referring to here in the podcast today. But I've came to the realization of how powerful lyrics are to the mind. And the reason why, and we'll leave this for another podcast, is because I attempted suicide, and I just came to, I realized that even the music that I was listening to was affecting how my spiral went down, right? So I had to learn from a young age that, okay, what I listen to matters. Okay. And not just that, but I can, what is that called? I can have selective hearing, right? And I can say, okay, well, like reggaeton, I don't really love the lyrics in all of them, but guess what? I love the how it makes me feel. Listen, in the morning, if I'm on my way to work, I listen to reggaeton. It's like I don't need coffee. I just listen to reggaeton, and the upbeat of the music, it makes me in the mood to work. It is what it is, selective hearing, right? But once I again came to the States and I started really listening to the lyrics of rap music, and you're right, it talks about hood, it talks about drugs, it talks about killing, it talks about stabbing. So guess what? I'm a believer that even though you're free to express the way that you want to express, I feel like we're putting thoughts in the minds of the next generation.
Yep, absolutely.
And I just don't like it.
I think you raised a good point too when we were having this conversation off the podcast. It affects your moods. Like you almost, like you were telling us that you select on how you're feeling that day, what you're going to listen to, because you know that if you listen to this specific song or genre when you're feeling down, it's just going to bring you all the way down. And that's a great point of view on some things, because sometimes you can listen to a love song, a breakup song, and you just feel even worse than what you felt when you first started listening to the song, So you always have that option to choose something else. Or if you want to just be in your sorrows and cry, you listen to that specific song. I mean, I listen to everything. I go from rock to hair band to freaking R&B to country. Like, I love every type of music. Sometimes I just listen to a Bach when I just want to be in a quiet, meditated state, or I'm like, music also feeds your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's, I mean, when we were talking to Linda about it, she raised such a great point. Like, you really have to be selective on what you're hearing at that moment when you're feeling. Because if you're angry and you're listening to something that is
Hard rock or heavy
hard,
metal.
yeah, it's going to make things worse.
Yeah, it'll just exacerbate like
Yeah.
whatever it is that you're feeling. I listened to something the other day on a reel, and the guy said, and he made a pretty good point about listening to music, that it's actually good for us to listen to like sad music. Like if you're going through a breakup or something, listening to sad music actually helps us to process our emotions and really feel, because music is that's what it does.
Yeah.
As you were saying right now, it kind of it depends on what mood you're in. It To me, music can put me in a bad mood real quick if I'm not in that state of mind. I can, and it switches my whole the way I'm feeling. So what do? I just, shut it off. Like, nope, okay, we're off because I'm not feeling like, centered. I'm not grounded. Then something's wrong. And it's because I feel like there's a lot of chaos outside of me or something. But he was saying, and it kind of makes sense what he was saying about helping you kind of go through those emotions and helping you process whatever it is that you're going through. So what do you feel about that? Like,
Yeah, but I think alongside of that, you have to be ready to process what you're going through, and that's kind of what I realized on my spiral. That sometimes, let's say I'm at work, right, and of course you have issues at home, and then you're at work and you're supposed to pretend like nothing's happening, right? You listen to this type of music. At that point, you're not ready to process what you're going through, to think about a solution, to think of no, you're working. No, but if I'm listening to this type of music that is a breakup song, whatever, that is going to make me extra sad, I'm not going to be able to focus at work. And I'm not going to be, I know I'm not processing what I'm going through. And it's just, and then I get anxiety because I'm not doing good at work. It's just one thing after the other. And then I spiral. Now, if I'm ready to okay, now I'm ready for my good cry. Now I'm at home alone. Now I can listen to that song because I know it's going to help me release what I need to release.
Yeah.
So, but again, I think that comes with the understanding and the maturity of the power of what a song can do to you.
Yeah.
Because you can literally do that. You can influence, okay, now I'm ready to process my emotions. Let me put the song. You know what? It's not a good time, like you said. Let me turn off the music right now. But guess what? It takes somebody to be emotionally intelligent to realize that in order to act accordingly.
Yeah. I agree. What do you guys think about, as you were saying that, and us talking about how music influences like moods and stuff? And I'm going to kind of go a little bit like conspiracy here.
Are they putting the lyrics backwards and I have to poner al revés el CD?
Listen,
the CD, I gotta turn it upside down and play.
In our days, it was a record, but Metallica. It's the devil's music.
But even Missy Elliott, when she does the whole like, which song I'm talking, and she starts saying things like kind of backwards or whatever, or they play, I don't know how they mix it, whatever. But it's like going backwards, and it's like, man, what the fuck is she saying? Like, so weird. So what do you guys think about
Missy,
that?
I love you.
Going in that direction though of like, controlling the masses. The music that's being put out there now, I feel like, again, we've lost the whole storytelling thing. We've lost the connection with the audience because now it's about money. And also just bluntness that they're like, I'm sorry, but I'm bringing up like Cardi B, like the whole thing that everything that she just kind of throws out there that she feels, and I don't feel like it's her music, because I remember there's some Cardi B songs when she first came out, like they were actual like good songs, and she was talking about real shit. But then she kind of went like, I don't know, raunchy, ghetto, whatever you want to call it.
Talking about the P and the this and the that. And
yeah, I mean, without getting really graphic, I feel like she kind of went sideways with it. But I almost feel like she was led that way. Like she was forced into doing something like that to get reactions like the way we're thinking about her and stuff. What do you think about that?
To get reactions?
Yeah.
Really?
To like pull reactions and to get people thinking a certain way, or to see how how desensitized. We were talking about earlier, I was talking to a friend of mine from California. I was on the phone with him earlier today for like 3 hours, and we were talking about this desensitizing children and even us as adults, like the whole programming thing with movies, with music, do you guys believe that that's even a thing? Or do you think it's really just everybody's being, open to their own expression?
Gosh, I feel like this is a can of worms.
I'm cracking it.
Oh Lord.
To me, I don't have daughters. I have two boys. But to me, when a 12-year-old is listening to you popping your pussy and you spreading your cheeks and to me, that's something they shouldn't be listening to. Obviously, it's the parent before people come at me. But this is what everyone's listening to nowadays.
Yeah, but hold on. But this is one I have to jump in, because this is what I'm talking about, me losing respect for rap. Because what were they talking about back then? Not necessarily popping pussy, but they were talking about killing people, murdering people, talking about selling dope on the street. Like, where's the censoring of that back then?
Here's the thing. They were actually living that.
Doesn't matter. It's kind of like what she's talking about.
She's in some of the music that's out now. It's telling females. It's not empowering females. It's telling females that their power is in their vagina. Yeah. It's not telling them that their power is in their education, in their brains, in their mind. Respecting who you are as a woman, respecting who you are as a person. So I think when you grow up in New York and you grew up in the streets, let's just say like Biggie did. I don't know any of these people. I don't know if the stuff is true, not true, whatever, because there's so many documentaries and I listen to them all. That's a way of life that they lived in. And I'm not taking anything from Cardi. I know Cardi was a stripper at one point and she was this and she was that and she saw things. I get it. But now our generation, and she has a daughter. Mm-hmm. So your lyrics are teaching your daughter that that's where your power is. Mm-hmm. Your power is not in your brain. It's not in your education. It's not in your career. It's not. You can get a man and lock him down with your vagina. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference. Like when you.
Yeah, but my the reason why I interject is because maybe we're a little bit more blunt nowadays, but I feel like this has been an issue forever. Like, I mean, Spanish, what was the song? Mami, ¿qué sabe lo que quiere negro? Like, you're talking about a young girl asking, what does this, dude want, right?
It's everything, but I feel like it was more tastefully made. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now as adults, we understand that.
Yes.
But as young kids, we didn't understand that. Yeah. We just understood the song and the sounds and the music, and we're sitting there, we're dancing to salsa merengue because Mami, ¿qué tú quieres que tiene negro? Mm-hmm. A 12-year-old doesn't know what that is. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, a 12-year-old knows that if you give a guy your vagina, you can take control of him. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying?
Because it's very blunt and very put out there. That's what I was saying.
It's way too open.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, I feel like back in the day it was a little bit more tastefully made.
Yeah. And more like innuendos versus coming out and talking about wet ass pussies. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, don't get me wrong. Two Live Crew opened it up.
Yeah, they
with Me So Horny. But,
you don't know that song either?
No.
Oh, write it down. Write it down.
You gotta listen to it. But, they did open some stuff up back in the day. But again, our minds are, the music sounds good. The lyrics are, oh, me so horny.
Yeah.
And we're just dancing, popping off in the club.
We're gonna have to play it for Linda.
But we didn't know what "be so horny" meant.
Yeah.
Nowadays we know how to give a blowjob. We know that a vagina, where to stick the dick. We know.
Shit, that's all in one song. That's all in one.
You don't even have to have sex education nowadays. Yeah. At least we had some type of guessing game in mine and Vet's Generation X, which is the freaking bomb generation, by the way. But again,
I have to agree. I'm sorry. I have to agree.
But it was more of a guessing game in our generation than it was like it is now. And I feel that a lot of this stuff has accelerated our youth today.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
And I think that the problem, though, also to add a layer of that is the fact that we have everything so at our fingertips. We have everything available at our fingertips. So our children, and all they have to do is get on Instagram, TikTok, whatever, listen to TikToks and reels, and they have these songs playing and what is everything? I mean, every other one is either a guy or a girl, shaking something. They're shaking something instead of actually teaching people about things, cooking, whatever. I love those freaking TikToks or reels because I actually learned something from that, but here we go, just kind of the scroll generation, and it's, very low attention spans and a lot of information just kind of like vomited out there.
Yeah. And with Linda, it's so funny because my parents were two different people. My mom listened to salsa, merengue. She was very in tune with her culture. My dad listened to the Eagles, Pink Floyd, and he was Boricua, but Hotel California is his favorite song. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I live with two different styles of parents that listen to, and that's why I'm so open with music. And country music was a big thing for him. He loved his Willie Nelson. He loved to get stoned with Willie Nelson. But it was, I got to embrace all aspects of it. And I think that's why I was so open to music. And I mean, it was just, I know that in the 60s and 70s, it was about smoking pot, doing coke, tripping on mushrooms, and all that stuff.
LSD.
It was things that they were living in at the moment. The Doors, Jimi Hendrix, and all that stuff. It was what they were living through at that moment.
Again, storytelling.
Yeah, they were telling what they were going through at that moment, and I feel like now with your Beyoncés of the world, your J-Los of the world, your Cardi B's and all that, they're not telling stories. They're now influencing young girls to make decisions based on their sexuality.
And based on what supposedly are societal norms. And I'm doing air quotes because it's like, that's supposedly okay now. Again, desensitizing our children and making them more vulnerable. That's what I feel.
And my parents were hippie as shit.
That's what I think.
So, I mean.
Conspiracies for another podcast.
Yeah.
Yes. That's how I was like, man, is it kind of orange? Because there's so much that I can go with this. But
that's why I said I'm just cracking it.
Just a little bit. Just a tiny bit.
Well, this has been super fun. A super fun topic. And we'll probably come and revisit because we have a lot of stuff. We can go a lot deeper with just this topic because it touches everybody, no matter who you are, right? And different genres and stuff. And I mean, we could go there's so many.
We could go deep.
Yeah, we could go on so many different paths. But I think we'll stop this one for today. Thank you, ladies, for joining me. And thank you all for listening in on Chats con Sabor. And no, we are going to give you words of wisdom. Sorry, Joanna, take it away.
Of course, I wasn't ready for the words of wisdom. Because she was wrapping up so fast.
So sorry.
So smoothly. You should have just,
But here we go. Pulling this one super quick. I was their friend. They weren't mine is a big lesson you learn in life. So be careful with who you bring into your world, into your life. Be selective. Don't be afraid to say no, and don't be afraid to pluck out those ones that are bringing you down and not filling you up. And I have been lucky with having my two beautiful co-hosts as those friends that I can turn to when I need. But it's important to put your circle and make your circle somewhere that you're healthy and you feel safe.
Absolutely. Great words of wisdom. Okay, now, thank you for joining us on Chats con Sabor. Until next time.
Adios.
Bye.